Welcome to In Moderation,
the show where we give you a moderate dose of info, sarcasm, and we already know we're not approved.
In this corner of episode 16, we have your host, Liam Layden.
Oh, it still feels weird, even though I changed my name like 2 years ago.
And in the other corner, we have your guest weighing in at way smarter than both of us combined, Ashley Freeman.
See, I thought you were going to go with weighing in at I don't judge women's weight, or like I won't comment on a woman's weight or something like that. That seemed like a pretty safe way to go. But you just like, let me just glaze over all of that.
Yeah. So how's it going, Ashley?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, you know, hanging in there, baby life. It's always fun getting spit up on, changing your shirt like, I don't know, 5-6 times a day, doing lots of laundry. Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I would say that I don't know nothing about that, but, you know, new kitten means hairballs all over the place. So I'm also cleaning up everything.
Nice. Well,
yeah, it's like the same what you guys are going through. I'm just kidding.
It's like exactly the same. Well, since we've got Ashley on the show, I think, you know, we're all going to talk about what she's known for, what people want to hear, petrology. Ashley, how did you get into studying rocks? Because I always found them really boring, you know, like they're just kind of there and everywhere. But you went to university for it. What got you interested in the study of rocks?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for the question. Wow. I know
I caught you off guard with the thing you've been studying for years. It's very weird. I don't know. I always like triangle ones because the square ones and round ones are so easy to find.
I prefer oblong myself.
Yeah,
oblong. That's a good one.
Oh, nice.
Oh, do you not study petrology? Because my notes are going to be completely useless.
I may have sent Liam the wrong notes.
I've just got all these questions.
Okay.
That's what you get for that little hidden gem that you left me in the last episode.
Oh, shit. Just like, what's the shiniest rock? Okay, maybe Ashley, you should tell people what you're actually known for, I guess.
Yeah. I can start with a background of, I guess, what I do on TikTok and then also my education, because they very much go hand in hand. So if you've seen me on TikTok, I very generally share kind of evidence-based fitness, nutrition, and physiology content. But kind of the history of what led me to there was, last year in May, I graduated with my Master's of Science in Health and Human Physiology
and rocks.
With an emphasis in skeletal muscle physiology and rocks. Yeah. Number one, rocks. Number two, human physiology. So yeah, my two really big passions. Overall, I study the human body and I've done research on it. I did a research project in grad school. I taught human physiology in grad school. I worked as a teaching assistant. But kind of some history on that. I came into undergrad as a human physiology major, originally thinking that I wanted to go to like med school or PA school or something of the sort. And so when I was in undergrad, I started working as a nursing assistant in an inpatient cancer unit. And once I graduated from college with a degree in human physiology, I actually spent 2 years full-time working as a nursing assistant in the inpatient cancer unit and really loved learning about cancer, caring for people. And during those years, I actually went through 2 rounds of PA school applications and didn't get in. The place I was applying to is one of those places where you have like 1,000 people apply and they take 25, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. And so from there, I was trying to think critically of what is it that I really love. And it was definitely human physiology. I really love learning and I really love teaching. And so I found, honestly, the perfect program, which is what I just graduated from last year. So it's a Master's of Science in Health and Human Physiology with a thesis track. So you do like coming up with a research project and proposing it and defending it and stuff like that. So mine was about skeletal muscle metabolism within cancer. And then I got to, alongside taking classes, work as a teaching assistant for 2 classes, human physiology lab, and then nutrition and health.
That's
so
awesome.
that's kind of
I'm going to be
the
honest.
deal.
When you said
Yeah.
you work with cancer patients, and then you said I went through 2 rounds, I was like, of chemo. Like you just decided just to. Like I went through 2 rounds.
Just
of chemo.
randomly go
I
through chemo.
wanted them
Yeah.
to. I wanted to feel what they were feeling. I wanted to understand what they were going through, and so I just did it as a show of support.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I remember.
I
So
should
you
have learned that
obviously
way
like.
too.
I've watched a lot of your TikToks. You talk about, muscle and, building muscle, the breakdown of muscle, that sort of stuff. So is that kind of what got you interested in, like, I know with cancer patients, a lot of muscle wasting happens a lot during cancer treatments and during cancer. Is that part of it that kind of got you interested in the study of muscle, I guess?
Not exactly. I mean, I wish it worked out that way perfectly, but it honestly was just one of those things that it it just kind of fell into my lap, or just it was a huge, almost coincidence. I guess that's not the right word, but I knew I wanted to study cancer. And I always had a huge fascination in undergrad. Out of all the systems we studied in the human body, the skeletal muscle was definitely like one of my favorite systems. And I think muscle is just the coolest organ. But the lab I joined is actually a cancer lab. Overall, it's the cancer cachexia lab. And it just so happened that one of our collaborators, so I joined the lab, and my mentor, she's a PhD scientist. It just so happened that one of the collaborators that she had been talking with about a project that ended up being my thesis, he just so happened to be the gastrointestinal oncology surgeon that I used to take care of his patients when I worked at the hospital. And then I came to grad school and all of a sudden was like a collaborator on a research project with him. So it wasn't like I went through him it just ended up falling into place perfectly, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was really cool how it worked out. And so my thesis was within a cohort of pancreatic cancer patients, but specifically we studied the mechanisms of muscle there. So it was cool in the sense where I got to learn a lot about skeletal muscle physiology in and of itself, and then getting to learn about that in the context of cancer, as well as just about, pathology of cancer itself.
You've gone through all of that, and you've come to the point where now you're just on a talk show podcast with 2 guys whose biggest argument is whether bananas are good or not.
We also argue about other things like pineapple on pizza, crunchy peanut butter. We talk about all the major topics.
I hate to tell you this, Liam, but the poll for pineapple on
pizza. I saw that people were talking about pineapple on pizza. Obviously, those are jokes. No one is serious about that. Those are clearly just to make us angry. Okay,
they're trolling us. Yeah,
they're just trolling us. No one actually likes that. It is a big old joke that a lot of people are in on. But yeah, I mean, that's interesting. So you said you were like interested in cancer as well. Also, my question is, since you've been doing that, how long have we been hiding the cure for cancer? Because obviously we've been doing that for a long time, but like, is it for like years? Is it more of a recent thing? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I think we're just waiting for more people to create really like marketable content about it.
Hit that threshold.
So that they can, yep. We just need more people to have no or very colloquial understandings of human science, and then come in and sell you like the solution that everyone has been hiding, and just completely crap on everyone in the research and medical field. So that's what that's it. I'm just kidding.
And how much is Bill Gates paying you?
Sorry, I can't share that.
Oh, okay.
Understandable.
NDA.
He generally keeps it under the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to kind of get like, because that's what I know you talk about it a lot. I'd love to kind of get into like the process of like building muscle. I know like one of your like most popular videos on TikTok is just kind of going through hypertrophy, the building of muscle. I would like love to just talk about that a little bit, because I think that's something a lot of people are interested, but they just kind of know me go gym, me lift weights, me sleep. Yeah. Eat protein, me build muscle. That's and while yes, that is basically what you need to do. It would be I'd love to get a little bit more into
me. Me no look at woman, or else me end up on Joey Swole.
me Me no want see me on Joey Swole. Me look down.
It's like those videos of those guys who are like, wow, the floor is just really flooring today. And like
There's so much floor. I've never noticed it before.
Yes, no, I do. I would love to talk about that. I realized I told you guys that I would talk about how that got connected to TikTok, and I just went on a tangent about my academic background. But very briefly, I think being in the field of research, and then, like I would come home and get on TikTok and then see people be like, look at this case study. If you eat vegetables, you will die. Like I would see that, and
we don't know anything about that. Tell us more. What's going on now? There's grifters trying to tell people not to eat things to sell supplements. I've never heard of this before.
That's exactly what I would go. I would have this like visceral reaction and get so angry because it's so frustrating. And for me, I almost felt like protective over my field of work and my colleagues of how people in the research field like break their backs to create knowledge. That's a hyperbole, but like they work so hard to create knowledge. And then like it takes years of collecting pilot data and writing a grant and carrying out a research project and then to maybe create some knowledge. And then I would get home and then see people making, so much money off of just completely false claims. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to.
That's something we touched on quickly on the previous episode, was that even though studies are funded by whoever, the people actually doing them, the scientists, everybody behind them, they actually care about people.
The amount of work that goes into these like research studies is like, I don't even like to think about it because thinking about it makes me tired. And so like, it is funny for people just to be like, well, that's funded by whoever, I don't know, whoever we hate now. Sure, Bill Gates will just keep that up. And so Big Bill, I like that. Yeah. Big Bill owns all the farmland and he runs every study and you can't trust any of it. Here's my rat study, buy this testicle supplement. So, yeah, I understand. Like, it's super frustrating. It really is. But like, I have seen like a lot of your other stuff you do talk about, like you have, the muscle and the hypertrophy and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I'd love to like get like at least a little bit into that. Make sure we do that. Cause otherwise I'll forget. And then the podcast will be over. I'm like, shit, yes. I totally forgot.
Oh yeah. We have to talk about my favorite subject. So that video I made is one of my favorite things because it, I think, perfectly encapsulates my thought process of, okay, I know when we go to the gym and eat protein and stuff, our muscles grow, but how? So I'll tell you how. So we
Magic,
have
fairies.
Our muscles. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's the end of the podcast. Thanks, guys.
Bye. See you later. Fairies, done. You've been listening to In Moderation.
Back up. So it starts with understanding the very structure of a muscle and the smallest functional unit, which is called the sarcomere. But if we back up, let's picture a muscle. Pick any one you want. Let's say the bicep.
I would have said the calf.
Oh, no, you would not have. Bullshit, get out of here. Everyone thinks of the bicep.
No, anything. Sorry if that was a bad idea. Okay, so start with a muscle. And it kind of reminds me of one of those like, those stackable those dolls where like it's the little
Russian
dolls,
nesting dolls. We remember.
Yeah. So it's like you take one out and then it's a little bit smaller and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. That's exactly what it's like when you look at the structure of a muscle. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about. And it's something that I would try to make my students so excited about in grad school. And some of them did. So anyway, so we start with a big muscle. And our muscles are made up of a bunch of smaller bundles of these things called fascicles. Now, so if you took a cross section of a muscle, you would see just a bunch of like medium-sized circles, and those are fascicles. Yeah. Now, if we were to look at just one fascicle and you took a cross section of that, you would also see even more circles within that. And in each of those fascicles is a singular muscle fiber. So now we're like, 2 layers into this doll metaphor.
So we're like So onions and ogres.
We're like onions.
Yeah,
everybody.
Exactly, yeah. The muscles are onions. That's all.
But what about a parfait? Parfait. Do we all know Shrek? Can we just spend the rest of the episode just quoting all of Shrek? Anyway, go ahead.
There we go.
So we've got the muscle, and it's made of a bunch of fascicles. And then within fascicles, we have muscle fibers. And then within one muscle fiber, our next layer down, or the next, smallest doll, would be the myofibrils. And then within that, and then within a myofibril, they are made up of a bunch of things called sarcomeres. And sarcomere is the actual thing that does the work to make your muscle contract. It's what we call the functional unit in physiology. When we think about organ systems, the smallest part that does the work is called the functional unit, and the sarcomere is what does that in the muscle.
So we have lots of those.
And the sarcomere.
We got tons of sarcomere. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm the functional unit of this podcast.
Exactly. You are the sarcomere.
You can be the sarcomere. That's fine. I'm good with that.
Yes. But if we want, guys, we could keep going, because sarcomeres are actually, there's another doll behind it. And
there's a secret doll.
Myofilaments. There's a secret doll, and those are called the myofilaments, which, if you've listened to fitness social media or taken a physiology course, those are the two myofilaments, actin and myosin. And those are the two things that go like this. There's a cross bridge formation, and they pull each other towards each other, and that's called a power stroke. And anyway, that's they're responsible for the sliding filament theory, which is how muscle contraction happens. So anyway, so that's so long story short, we just went, from the whole muscle down to the smallest. We had that functional unit, which was the sarcomere. And then one step down from that are those myofilaments, which are a bunch of little bands of protein. And now we need to get more of, because we're talking about hypertrophy, muscle growth, we need to get more of those myofilaments, more of those actin and myosin proteins.
And that's where the fairies come in.
That's where the fairy dust is.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and that's it. So now we're done. I'm just kidding. And so those proteins need a lot of green lights or go signs to start making more of those myofilaments, so that we can have muscle hypertrophy.
That's where the steroids come in.
That's where.
Okay. Yes. Or
wait, was that not what we were referring to when we said fairy dust? I thought we were just all on a level here. We all knew what we were talking about.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know what? Our physiology is so amazing. We actually don't need any of that, and the mechanisms will still work, and we can still have muscle growth. It's really cool.
Okay, so basically we have all these Russian nesting dolls all connected together.
We're made of circles,
and they're all they're all working together. So when you flex your bicep, you have just lots of these. We'll say there's at least 10 of them. There's lots of them. There's however many. There's probably more than 10. I would assume there's more than 10 sarcomeres, right? There's at least.
Yeah. Hundreds of thousands
of them, right? All working together. So then, let's say I want to, build some more muscle, right? So, okay, so I'm going to go.
So you want to take those 10 and you want to get 11 now.
I want to get,
you want to turn it up to 11. We got
to work with fractions here. So I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do some resistance training where I lift weights and I lift things up and I put them down, basically. So how does the process of building more muscle? I know we eat protein, and the protein has amino acids. Do we break those proteins down, get the amino acids, and those amino acids somehow make more filaments and sarcomeres and stuff, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so those the proteins within our muscle, those actin and myosin proteins, are made in a process as we've called muscle protein synthesis. And our whole body, our day-to-day life is just a cycle. It's called protein turnover. So we have muscle protein synthesis, or just protein synthesis in general, and protein breakdown.
Right, because I think a lot of things that people people just get stuck on is like you're in an anabolic state or you're a catabolic state, where it's you're either growing or you're breaking things down. And it's really more, if I'm right, it's kind of both all happening at the same time. It's just kind of a net gain or a net loss, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you think about like a monthly budget, like you're, maybe you're getting paid a couple times a month, or you do a babysitting job and you got a little bit more there, but that doesn't mean like, if you make $20 one night from babysitting, it doesn't mean you're net positive for the month just because you had an increase. Like, it's a balance of, what you make and what you expend, or in this case, the protein that you build up and the protein that you break down. So
Big Bill is the steroids are Big Bill paying you under the table.
Yeah, because I think people think of it like a light switch where it's just like
Every
on
month.
or off. Like, okay, I'm anabolic, I'm catabolic. Catabolic is breaking things down, anabolic is building things up. But really, it's just both of them's going on a little bit of time. So if you eat enough protein over the course of a week and do resistance training and you sleep enough, all these things, then you will be adding to all these different pieces that build up that make up a
Exactly.
muscle.
Yes. Yeah. I do have a word on that idea in general, but just to finish it. So the main green lights that help these muscles grow, there's three main things. Number one, resistance training, as we know. Number two, amino acids. When your body sees an influx of amino acids, that will create a very anabolic environment, which is why we say like increase protein. Now, of course, that needs to come in with a sufficient amount of energy as well. So if someone is in an extreme calorie deficit and they're eating protein, that's not an immediate anabolic response. It's, in the context of the entire system. And the third one is our growth hormones or growth factors, which are regulated by a lot of different things. And so when people take performance enhancing drugs, that severely increases growth hormone and testosterone and stuff like that. But even that's why when people talk about getting sufficient sleep, it's because through a cascade, it increases circulating levels of growth hormone and literally helps you gain more muscle. And so overall muscle hypertrophy, if the main takeaway is, if this was a whole like too long didn't read for any of the listeners, it's really just amino acids, resistance training, and sleep.
I would love to get into like it, just like give people something they can take away, and for like each of these parts. So like, okay, protein. How much protein should someone get in a day if they're trying to build muscle? I've heard somewhere anywhere from like 0.5 grams to 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight, or whatever weight you're trying to achieve. What would you say? How much protein you need?
Yeah, it's hard because I know you guys have talked about this in the podcast also. There's so much nuance, and every single person is just so different, I really, if you're really passionate about muscle building and you're just like, you're really wanting to take to that next level, I think anywhere from 0.6 or really 0.8 to like 1.2 grams per pound. And that really depends on the person. But, there are some people who that's also just really hard in general. And so I think a great place to start, if you're not even close to there, is like add in an extra, 10 grams of protein a couple times a day or once a day, like making those small steps. And so, when I think back, that's just an anecdotal experience. I started with that 0.8 to 1 gram per pound, and that's pretty consistently what I hit these days too. But, it's people have it's the thing is like people will have success doing one, people will have success doing more.
And I like what you said,
and doing
because
less.
you said like, you don't, if you're, because a lot of people are like, whoa, that's a lot of numbers. I'm the math. What the hell's going on? Hold on a second. Like, how
especially
about
when you use two different measurement systems there.
There's a good measurement system in freedom units, and then there's whatever everybody else in the world uses. It's fine. Like, I'm a little confused with all of it because, it doesn't make any sense. So why don't I just add a little bit more protein? And so like one meal, why don't I just pick a meal, add a little bit more protein into that meal? That's enough for now. And you can always go from there. So I would say, anywhere from around like 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight is great. If you don't even want to get to that, just add in a little bit more protein. Protein powders are fine. I get that asked so often. Are they going to destroy my kidneys? It's just protein. It's protein from food. They take it from plants or whey, which is milk, and they make it into a powder, and it's just convenient. It's not steroids. It's not going to make you blow up, but it's just a convenient source of protein to hit your protein.
Are you sure? Because Eddie Abboud has told me that.
Holy shit. I mean, according to him, it's terrible, and none of it makes any sense. But
then you'll turn around and have cheese, right?
It doesn't. It's such a thing.
And that's the problem, I think, with these like said colloquial understandings of fitness and nutrition and physiology is people will call protein powders poison. But if you think about, our DNA is encoded with 20 amino acids that are used for muscle protein synthesis. And when as we've talked about in all of our videos, you have our essential and non-essential amino acids, and a complete protein is one with all 9 essential amino acids that our body can't make. And guess what? Those 9 essential amino acids are in cheese, they're in whey protein, they're in animal products, they're in some plant products. Like our body recognizes them as amino acids.
Yeah.
And I think it's just
so yes,
it takes
get enough.
It's almost like we have a digestive system to break things down to their basic amino acids.
Eat food, you have protein powder if you want. You don't need it. You don't need the extra stuff. You don't need BCAAs. You don't need all the other stuff. Just keep it basic.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got that kind of protein down. Obviously, we need sleep. I generally, as I work in sleep medicine, I would say, try and get 7 to 8 hours a night. Obviously, I'm a new father, like shit happens. Like you're not going to get exactly what you want every night, but just, you would say do your best to get, what sleep you can. And then, as far as resistance training, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on like, someone starting off, kind of what, maybe you'd recommend just for like in sort of like getting into the resistance training.
That's a great question. I think there's definitely, to a certain extent, there's like this dose response relationship, meaning, the more, in general, the more days per week you resistance train, if you go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, there's generally going to be an increased response, or you're going to see, more growth the more frequent you do. I have some of my clients, like I have some people who are in college and can commit to 2 days a week, and I have some people who just love going 6 days a week. And it's one of those things, like my number one question when I have clients is, how many days, think about your life, your responsibilities, what you have going on, how many days can you commit to going? I always recommend at least 2. The guidelines, the physical activity guidelines also recommend at least 2. So yeah, minimum 2. And if you can commit to more and enjoy it, and it's like your favorite method of exercising, or it's a method of exercising you enjoy, up to, depending on intensity, it can be up to like 6.
I think that's a great piece of advice. Just starting off with 2, you can get a lot of results with 2. Like, just a couple times a week. People think, oh, if I work out 4 days a week, I get double the progress. No, it's not an exact. It's 2 is great, and then you'll get a little bit more as you go up. But starts, it's always good just to start somewhere. And I see so many people that are like, I'm going to go 5 times a week. You don't have time for that. I love what you said, Ashley. Like, you talk to them like, hey, how much time can you reasonably put into this? Like, listen, you've got all this stuff going on in your life, and you're like, I want to do 5-6 days a week. Come on. Like, just a couple days a week is great. And you'll be adding all those sarcomeres, fairy dust, and the other things that are.
Another thing is sometimes people talk to me about they're not able to dedicate like an hour every day. You don't have to go an hour, and you can break it up into like 10 minutes here and there. You hit your quads in the morning, do a couple exercises for quads. You can maybe have some time in the afternoon, you can hit your chest. Before bed, you can hit your triceps, whatever. You don't have to do it in one full hour.
And we definitely covered a lot of this with like we had Raiden on, so I just wanted to touch on it a little bit. But since we got Ashley and we got more of like the physiology and stuff, I definitely want to get into that. Like, I'd love to know more, like when it comes to electrolytes. Mostly what I know about them, it's what plants crave. But besides that, I know that it's important in muscle and muscle contraction and that sort of thing. So can you give me a little bit of the deal?
And
with
important in sea salt. No wait, Himalayan salt. No wait. It's Celtic salt. No, wait.
There's
whatever
always a
salt.
New salt. There's always a new salt. My God, there's every time. Why are we're fear mongering water and salts and like the things the basic shit we need? God, it's so much. What? Yes, give us the magic. Okay, Ashley, give us the magic salt that everybody needs to have.
Yeah, it's actually if you go to the link in my bio,
there's the special salt. It's none of the salts. Don't use any of those.
Promo code RockGirl6743.
Yes. Yeah. If you just click on the link and use my code, I'm not going to tell you any details, but once you buy it,
that's all. You'll just buy it.
And then you just take a little grain and you put it on the tip of your tongue, and it absorbs into your body, and everything is better.
I saw one of my favorite like cooking creators. I'm just like literally obsessed with their content. They recently were talking about, only use this salt because it has minerals. I'm like, oh gosh, no, not you too.
It's everywhere.
Electrolytes. Why are they good for
why
us?
why do we need them?
Why do we need them? So they pretty much they're essential in a lot of different processes in our body. The first thing that comes to my mind, probably one of my favorite topics, is called the sodium potassium pump, which establishes our resting membrane potential in our neurons. So to put that in English, so we have, our brain, and then we have our nerves that travel throughout the rest of our body. And in order for our eyes to blink and for our mouth to move so we can talk, or, to you listening right now, you're having an auditory input into your ear that's traveling to your brain and then making sense of it. This is all happening through neurons with magic, the fairy dust, and that's it. So thank you. Oh gosh, this is all happening through like signals or nerve impulses. Also, what we call them in physiology is action potentials, and that really happens from when signals travel across neurons. It's what we call action potential propagation. And so we have something called the resting membrane potential in our neurons. So the cells and really the functional units of our nervous system, which is our brain and spinal cord, and the nerves are neurons. And, that's what, obviously, like I just said, that's where the impulses travel through. They have this charge to them on the inside and outside of the cell. And those charges are established by electrolytes, those minerals in a solution. So sodium has a positive charge in water. Chloride has a negative charge in water. We've got potassium, magnesium, all these different ions that exist in water with charges. And without getting too technical, so the perfect balance of sodium and potassium inside and outside of our nerve cells, and for that to travel down the nerve cells perfectly, is literally how any of us can think and do anything. And so that's what
so I know it's all important in muscle contraction, right? You need sodium, and that's why you'll see rehydration drinks, like your Gatorades or whatever, they'll have sodium, they'll have these things. And correct me if I'm wrong, like, I mean, you both probably maybe even know a little bit more than I do, but like, I know the Prime, you guys have heard like about Prime, the energy or the rehydration formula, that they're always like kind of dogging on Gatorade because like, oh, it's got sugar. First off, it's for athletes who are sweating, and like sugar is calories, and they gotta need calories, and they kind of need energy, which it's not made for people just to be sitting. It's so silly. But also what I find funny is they're like, oh, they have like 270 milligrams of electrolytes. We have 271 or whatever it is. Like, it's just like one more, but they add a ton of potassium instead of sodium. And so like, from what my basic understanding is like, no, we need a little bit more sodium than we need potassium. And he's just kind of loading it up with potassium because potassium doesn't have as strong of a taste as sodium. It's like, really salty. So it's going to kind of ruin the taste of your drink.
Especially in the context of oral rehydration solutions and, things that make you dehydrated, like sports or traveling or humidity, stuff like that.
Right.
A balance of our electrolytes is so important. And so if you're just taking in potassium, that's like, in a dumbed down version, is almost like taking in one sole macronutrient and thinking that that's healthier than, a good balance of all of them kind of thing. Like, we wouldn't call someone healthy if they're only eating protein or they're only eating carbohydrates. No, like, you need all of those different macronutrients.
What we've really learned is it's about marketing.
Bodily processes and different.
And what's funny about them dogging on the sugar is the sugar serves a secondary purpose in addition to being carbohydrates. It helps increase the absorption of those electrolytes.
It's a secondary active transporter across the membrane. It's a really cool method of it's just so cool how our bodies do stuff like that. And I think I just remember being kind of disappointed when Prime first came out and they were marketing of why it's so much better than all of the other drinks, and they were dogging on sugar and dogging on sodium. And I think this is such an issue with the divide between understanding of what human science is and just trying to market health. And those are separate things that really shouldn't be separate. And so, and I think I personally think it's deep rooted. There's this like hatred of sodium also. And I think it's deep. It's just kind of like the way that diet culture has evolved to today, because sodium, too much of anything is too much, as we know. Too much sodium can make people swell up, and then it makes them feel bloated, and then it's like, I think it's a body thing, or the feeling of being bloated and stuff like that. I just think it goes back to toxic diet culture,
sodium's
as
an
they
interesting
say.
one,
So
because
anyway,
it's kind of like we're going back and forth with everything we've talked about before with like saturated fats and sugar. Like, this is bad, now it's good. Sodium is one of those things that has been demonized, understandably so, for certain, because we generally exceed, most people generally exceed the amount of sodium they need in a day. If you have heart disease, you're at risk for it. Having excess sodium is problematic. But now we've kind of turned around, and a lot of people are saying like, no, you need sodium, so sodium's good, but only sodium from pink Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salt, whatever, because those have minerals, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, it's interesting to see this turn. And now Prime is a prime example of good marketing. If you told me like, what's good marketing, I'd be like, look at Prime, because they're like, oh, sugar bad. People know sugar bad, so we say sugar bad too. We use little sugar. They use electrolytes. We use more electrolytes. Which electrolytes? Doesn't matter. Don't ask us. In what forms, in what quantities? Again, doesn't matter. We have little sugar. We have more electrolytes. So it's really, for the average person, it's tough, because they hear these words like, I know sugar's bad. I know my body needs electrolytes. And so Prime says they have less of one, more of another, and so I'm going to buy it. And it's just like, when you look at it, and then they hire, like famous people in the UFC and whatnot to say they drink it. There's no fucking way these people, these actual athletes, are drinking Prime. They're throwing that shit in the trash. That is garbage to them. I mean, for the average person who's just like sitting on the couch, sure, you could drink it. It makes water taste better. It's got sucralose, so it makes water taste better. And sure, it's got some potassium, and most people aren't getting enough potassium, I guess. So, if you want to drink it for that, fine. But as an athlete, they're throwing that shit in the garbage, and they're drinking actual, like, oh my God, the liquid IV, like liquid IV. I see people like, oh, look how much sugar is in it. There's a reason it's for athletes. Are you, come on, work with me a little bit here. Glucose is right. Our primary energy source, carbohydrates, glucose. They need that. It's quick energy. Oh, that's my frustrated rant. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's the, as like you were saying, yes, it tastes good, and it's a source of potassium, but it's like, and I know this doesn't happen, but it's like, be so precise with your marketing, because otherwise it just confuses people, and it just perpetuates this echo chamber of just misinformation about how the body works, and what's good and bad and toxic and non-toxic. Our favorite words.
So, I mean, would you recommend anything for like specifically, someone going to the gym, like, hey, I'm just going to the gym, should I just drink water? Is that fine? I mean, I usually tell people like, you can throw like a flavoring packet in it to make it taste better, a little bit of caffeine. I like caffeine, but everybody's different. Some people are sensitive. Some people don't feel it at all. You kind of just have to find what works for you. I mean, that's kind of what I'm on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would recommend, is just find what works for you. Like if water is fine to you, but it's more fun when it's in a cute water bottle, like do that. Like that's how I like to drink it. Or if it's, those flavor enhancers or the caffeine infused flavor enhancers, or even electrolyte packets, if it just tastes good to you, like find what works. But the biggest thing I think is just be cautious when people are telling you, this is how you have to do it. Otherwise, 100%. X, Y, and Z will happen. Or
coming soon.
Usually it's not even that deep.
In moderation brand cute water bottles.
I would sell a cute water bottle. I'd sell the fuck out of a cute water bottle. I'd put like, I don't know, a little Hello Kitty maybe or something. Like, I mean, obviously not that because we get sued, but like just looks just not enough like it. Okay,
Liam, we're putting on like cute anime chibi versions of my cat and your dog.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I would go with for like a cute water bottle. I think that we could sell the fuck out of that. I'm not.
Heck yeah.
Maybe we can we get one of the ones where you put the little fruit in it? Because that always seems like, maybe
the fruit infusers. Yeah,
the fruit infusers. We could say something about detoxing or whatever. Like, fuck your kidneys, drink this or something like that. I feel like people would buy that, right? Like, I'm not. I feel like I'm crazy here.
No, I think that's good. No, and then you can put sarcomeres on there so people always remember.
Sarcomere fairy dust going at you. Drink up, bottoms up. Bro, we would make such a good fucking water bottle. We would kill it in the water bottle game.
I'm adding this to the merch list.
Yes, water bottle next.
Yes.
We've got this.
That's awesome.
And I want to put it what's like electrolytes is what plants crave, because I fucking love that. Like that, like that's just a great quote. People will love it. We're all right. We'll troubleshoot this later. We'll figure it out. But guys, everybody listening, look out for the next water bottle. I'm ranting in my joking voice, but I'm serious about this. We will be coming out with an awesome water bottle.
Heck yeah.
Yes, we'll encourage people to be hydrated. I love it.
Yeah, I mean. There's so much, it's just, there's so much marketing, and like I see those videos of people like I don't know, God, what, like honey and salt together, and like I put baking soda in there too, because fuck it, why not? Like alkalizes something, and that somehow gives me the craziest
No, it's important that you put lemon and baking soda together, because you need to have that acid and base.
Yeah, it balances it out. Well, our body balances things out. We need to balance out our food.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Some people never took organic chemistry, and it shows. I'm just kidding. I'm joking, everyone.
No, you're not.
Oh, gosh. I wanted to ask something. I just remember I want to ask something. Muscle types. I'm glad I remember this, because I was like, I'm going to forget this. There's two types of like the muscle. There's like fast twitch and slow twitch, right? Like that's like...
Oh, yeah, the muscle fiber.
Yeah, there's muscle fiber. So there's fast twitch, like, like sprinters and stuff, you go real fast. And then slow twitch is more like, long term, endurance runners and stuff like that. As far as I'm aware, my dumb brain, mostly it's like genetic in what like people have fast or slow twitch. You can't like, change it for the most part. And some muscles, like maybe calves, have like slower twitch because they're more for like long term endurance and other muscles. But like, so tell me if I'm wrong. What's up with that? Like with the things. Tell me things.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right on it. So we've got 3. So there's in general, fast twitch and slow twitch. Okay. If you've taken a physiology course, it's generally, I would have to look back on this. I think it's slow oxidative. Yeah, it's slow oxidative, fast oxidative, and then fast oxidative glycolytic or something like that, which is really just... The name is really summarizing its metabolic properties, but they're also called, because this makes perfect sense, type 1, type 2A, and type 2X. And each muscle will always have a combination of all of them. And, when we think about, just like you said, Liam, so our postural muscles, our back, our erector spinae has a lot of, it's primarily that type 1. I guess I should explain. The type 1 is really like low threshold. It can work for a very, very, very long time, but it can't produce a lot of power, which is great when we need to do things like sit up straight or stand up straight. So we see those in our back and our calves, because they can help us stand or help us sit up for a very long time without getting super fatigued. And then we have our type 2A and type 2X. And those are things, that make really, really strong, really powerful movements. They're so strong, and they produce so much power, but they don't last very long. And so when we think of when we're sprinting, we're using our quads a lot. And so our quads have a lot of those type 2, those type 2 fibers. So yes, to answer your question, Liam, all of our muscles will have a little bit, and just human nature, some of our muscles will have different proportions of them, but it's largely determined by genetics, and it can be influenced by training to an extent, but it's one of those things that it depends on, how long you've been training for, age, sex, genetics also. So there's a lot of different factors.
Clearly, I am primarily type 2X, because the X stands for extreme, and we know how extreme I am.
Exactly. Yeah. As a skeletal muscle physiologist, I can confirm that.
Because I've seen videos of stuff. People like, you have to do these exercises to get this muscle type, more of this muscle fiber and that. But I just wanted to make sure, like, it's pretty much just genetic. It all there's I think in just like in terms of like making videos or making content, you want to pick something that's just that sounds sciencey, right? Like, it's got to sound sciencey, and it's got to have some basis in reality, but then you kind of have to take a left turn and make up your own shit, because then you are the only one that can give this information. So you're like, okay, there's muscle fiber types. Yes, that is correct. There's 2 types. So there's fast twitch, there's slow twitch. Okay, now I am going to give you these specific exercises so you'll get more of these muscle fibers. And so like, and now it seems like specific information that I have, and more people come back to me. So I feel like, you know, the main thing we've learned on this podcast after 27 episodes or however many we're on, you said at the beginning, I already forgot, doesn't matter, is that we're really learning how to like grift people well. I think by the end of this, everyone listening and all of us are going to know so well how to make like, you know, content and channels that can really target people.
We're all going to become professional grifters.
That'd be so good.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point, right? Like that's what, you know, we push on our pages and stuff like that. So I'm glad this is working so well.
I'm just sitting here thinking. I'm just thinking about more muscle. I mean, what if there's 3 muscle type fibers? Like, what if I say like there's a third one that scientists haven't found yet? There's so many avenues I could take. It's crazy.
There are type 2B muscles, but those are only found in mice.
Well, that's what the science says. But I could say, like, what if this special supplement will give you those muscle fiber types? Those will increase that in humans.
And think about
it's so good.
And think about who funded those studies. You just can't even believe anything.
It's so good.
What do those researchers know? You know,
all you have to do is just not say that the study was in mice.
Or, you know, it was funded by someone or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just, you know, flashed up on the screen. Man, I'd be so good at this. You guys do the rest of the episode. I'm going to sit here and think about how I can grift the fuck out of people.
All right, sounds good. See you later.
So to sum up this entire episode, you're made of circles. There's a muscle fairy that gives you muscles. And Liam's becoming a grifter. Okay, good night, everybody.
Russian nesting dolls, but circles, whatever. Go study rocks. Everyone have a good day.
Yes, and for anyone listening, if you just want a fun fact to carry around in your noggin, just remember that the sarcomere is the functional unit of the muscle. And if you ever want to talk to me about it, let me know, because it's so fun.
Come to me with all sarcomere-related questions.
Well, I mean, on that note, you need to tell everybody where to find you.
I guess she should.
Oh,
probably,
yes. You can find me on TikTok, which is Ashley Freeman _ that's where a lot of my educational videos are. And then I'm trying to move them to Instagram also. And that's Ashley Freeman 97.
What, no underscore?
That's where you can find me.
Was Ashley Freeman _ taken?
Was that taken? That's what I was thinking. It was probably taken.
Well, okay, actually, Instagram, the Ashley Freeman 97 on Instagram was taken. Or no, sorry. Ashley Freeman 97 on TikTok was taken. So I was like, I'll have to do an underscore. But now people usually are consistent across.
I know, you're messing up. You got to just pick a whole new thing now.
This coming from the guy who has underscores in his Instagram one, but not his TikTok one.
Oh, you know, it's the same words, Rob. You can be nitpicky here, okay? Listen, we're here. We just got to tell Ashley, change it to sarcomere or ask me sarcomere or something like that. It's through cross.
Sarcomere lover. Yes. But what you can do, if you're interested, you can just Ashley Freeman _ on TikTok, and then there's that Instagram button right there from my profile. So just
do the cheat method,
making it easier, really centralizing it for everyone. So yes, that's where you can find me.
Okay, but before we kick you off, we need to hear about creatine, because everyone always asks about creatine. And you talk about creatine a lot.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about creatine. We're gonna get asked that 100 times if we don't. Let's speed run through creatine. Okay.
Speed run. Okay, I've got the stopwatch and go.
Okay, creatine. What form of creatine should I take?
Creatine monohydrate.
How much should I take?
5 grams. That's fine. 1 scoop.
Should I take it on days I rest, or should I only take it on days I exercise?
Take it every day. Days you rest also.
Take it every day. Does it matter when I take it?
Nope. Just be consistent.
Give me a short summary on how it helps me in the gym.
Oh gosh. Okay. Make it short. Make it short.
Make it short. Short. Come on.
So, it helps with energy production.
Pressure's on. You're being graded on this.
Yeah, it helps with energy production. That's really what it is.
There you go, energy production. So you could make it had more force. Is it steroids?
It's not steroids. And a note on the energy production. In one workout, it can help give you that extra to get an extra couple reps. And so when you're taking it over time consistently, it's really how you see that meaningful change. Okay, sorry.
Okay. And will it make me lose my hair?
No, it won't.
Like the way you're just like, absolutely not. I get asked that a lot. God.
Yeah, it will not.
Do you got anything else, Rob? I feel like that's most.
How bad is it going to bloat me?
Oh, the bloating, yeah.
If you're properly hydrated, it's not going to bloat you. I have a whole reason. I have a whole video.
Should I cycle it? Do I cycle it?
No cycle, no loading. Just take it and it will be fine.
There you go.
Yeah, if there are people who if people have said they feel bloated when they take it, it's for a reason independent of the creatine. It has to do with hydration. I have an entire video on that, not to plug myself, but just if you're wondering, like, how does that even happen? But all that to say, it's not inherently dehydrating.
Okay. So it's great.
On that note, I also want to add that like if you are having digestive troubles taking one form of creatine, try a different form. It's not the creatine, it's what it's bound to that's causing you to have those digestive troubles.
Yeah, that's the only time you should not get monohydrates if you're having trouble tolerating it. So it's great. It can give you an extra rep in the gym and therefore lead to more muscle growth. It's very effective. Our body naturally makes it. Get whatever form is third-party tested and cheap on Amazon. It doesn't matter.
Can I give it to my cat?
Can I give it to my cat?
We'd have to look at the data.
I want a muscle cat.
I don't know if you can cats. I mean, they eat meat, so like, and there's protein. Yeah. I would assume it's fine. I don't know.
Can teenagers take it?
Right, teenagers. That's another one.
Yeah, I've done there's a lot of research on that. There's also a lot of research on creatine in children, looking at exercise performance, like youth, and because they're short-term studies, they do like loading phases, and these kids tolerate 20-ish grams of creatine a day with literally no adverse events. So
no shit.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
So give kids random supplements. That's basically what we've learned from this. Just give your children different supplements and see what happens. And maybe it'll be great.
That was just to the point of it's very well tolerated for humans.
Maybe it'll turn into Spider-Man. We don't know. We can't say. Hopefully. We cannot say.
Disclaimer, do not give your child anabolic steroids.
Yes, that's important.
I don't know why I have to say that.
Listen to this episode, and
there
all I took away from it
that do that
was don't give your kids steroids. There was a bunch of stuff, and then somehow at the end, they really drove home the fact that you shouldn't give your kids steroids. Yes. It was very weird, but you should listen to it.
Yes. Okay. Also, don't forget the sarcomeres.